I am resident of Collinwood for YouTube. Joining me is my buddy Butch Rosenbalm, my buddy Gordon Dymowski, my buddy Patrick McCray. We're here to discuss John Carpenter's Vampires, baby. Directed by, obviously, John Carpenter. This has James Woods, Thomas Ian Griffith from Karate Kid Part 3. If you have never watched it, go watch it. It's not that bad, I swear. But so, Patrick, when did you first watch John Carpenter's Vampires?
It wasn't in the theaters. I know that. I think it was an early DVD that I got. It was in that first few years of the DVD, and I got it and watched it, and it was part of that period of John Carpenter's career where we're very happy to see a John Carpenter movie. It was a little tough to admit maybe that they weren't always as good as his earlier movies, and a discussion of John Carpenter films in this period is, well, there are certain things to like in this movie rather than, oh my God, there's an awesome movie. I mean, even In the Mouth of Madness, which is a movie that has a lot of stuff in it I like, I don't find myself as compelled to go back and watch like Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China, Halloween, like those films. And so I don't want to necessarily do this to us, but I feel like inevitably a discussion of John Carpenter in this period becomes a really semi-introspective, semi-analytical look at what happened to him and what happened to us as a filmmaking culture, and what did studios do, and maybe was the success of Starman ultimately a bad thing for him? I don't know. So it's complicated. I liked the movie enough, but I didn't like it so much that I watched it again until I watched it the other night to prepare for this podcast.
Yeah. Gordon, what are your thoughts, man? When did you first see this?
Oh, I first saw this when it first came out on VHS, because I don't remember going to see it in the movies, and it was kind of like I was in transit, so by the time I actually got to watch it, it had come out on VHS, and I kind of have to. I agree with Patrick. There's a lot of it. I mean, there's some great ideas. I think. I'll be honest. I think that when he worked on Memoirs of an Invisible Man, that's the movie that kind of broke him, because it basically, he had an idea, the studio had an idea, and Chevy Chase had an idea, and working with Chevy Chase is not a pleasant deal. I think this has some of Carpenter's signature kind of like pulpy mashup kind of ideas, but it's not bad, but it's not what you would never hand this to someone and say, this is Carpenter at his best. I think this is Carpenter had an idea. He wanted to make a movie. They figured, okay, well, we can pay James Woods and cocaine if he'll star, and there you go.
Yeah. Butch, when did you first see this, Butch?
I'm the oddball. I saw it in the theater. A couple of the guys that I used to know that Patrick knows, we used to go most every weekend and see films, and this happened to be one. It's like, yay, a new John Carpenter film. And I'm going to echo, this is not Carpenter at his best. Some interesting trivia I found out doing a little research. Apparently the budget for this movie was $60 million, and just before they started filming, they said, no, it's $20 million. Yeah. And cut his budget quite a bit. He was saying that he was thinking about retiring, and the reason he did this film is because it was basically a Western. He always wanted to do a Western, and he said, okay, do this. If it's not any fun, Escape from LA.
Jewel, we told you.
Yep.
Take it from Uncle Buck.
But apparently he had fun with it, so he didn't retire at the time. Yeah, the 90s is really, not 90, 91, 92. He was still doing some good films, but as the 90s went on, it just, like a lot of the directors that I grew up liking, him, George Romero, and such. Part of it, I think, is they just got older and didn't have as much to say. They didn't have that burning youth of, we gotta fight the power. We got to do this. And
yeah.
I don't want to say.
I'll say, Butch, I'll say this: a John Carpenter movie of this era is like standing up for the national anthem, thinking you're going to hear Tony Bennett sing it, and it's Leonard Nimoy who sings it, and it's Nimoy, despite he can carry a tune, he's just not Tony Bennett, and it's still the national anthem. I'm still patriotic. I'll stand and all of that, and it's a national anthem sung by a famous person I like. So okay, it wasn't Tony Bennett, but Tony's busy right now.
I forget. I think you said it, Patrick. This is not a film that I'm dying to watch again. Admittedly, the layer of dust on this DVD was rather thick. And I remember seeing the trailer for this, and I'm going, James Woods is an action hero?
Yeah.
And just so many things. I read the novel that it was based on, inspired by. And I was just like, okay, you know what? Like I said, these two guys I used to go, about every week we go see something. They ended up dragging me to damn Grease re-release, and I remember seeing Grease the first time, and I really didn't want to see it the second time.
What? You never told me this. Why did they do this to you? It wasn't your fault.
No, it wasn't, and I really wished I'd said no, because there was a bunch of teeny boppers in there singing along to every song. But it's kind of like the duets album with Frank Sinatra. And they said this is like Frank at 20%. But Frank at 20% is still better than a lot of other people at 100%. Is this a great John Carpenter film? No. Is it okay? Yeah.
Now on Duets 3, he does a song with the Coupe de Villes. There's your deep cut.
And to those of you that don't know, the Coupe de Villes is John Carpenter's band.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and if you have to choose between seeing John Carpenter's Vampires and Memoirs of an Invisible Man, you're going to choose Vampires. If you're going to have to choose between seeing Memoirs of an Invisible Man and being trapped in a room with someone talking to you about the entire Halloween franchise, you'll choose the Halloween franchise.
Oh, no. Okay, no.
Don't talk about Joel like that.
I'm kidding, Joel. I'm kidding.
Oh my god.
You've already lost control, Joel. I'm going to go ahead and warn you.
I know. I can feel it. I can feel that I've already lost this right here.
I will say this about John Carpenter's Vampires.
There we go.
Billy Baldwin shows that he has some acting talent. Not a lot, but some.
The Baldwin clan is like watching Multiplicity, except I can't figure out which one is like the last clone that's a little off.
That I have called them the Baldwin clones for years, and this was the movie that started me, because it's like, oh, that's the heavy one, and there's the skinny one, and here's the dumb one. It's and I didn't think of Multiplicity, like generational fade. But yes, I agree. He does okay. I mean, it's not
he
like
does. It's like,
that's like me showing up and doing it, as Patrick can tell you, and he saw my one audition for one of his plays.
I like Butch saw John Carpenter's John Carpenter's Vampires in theaters. I'll say this: I did enjoy this movie simply because I learned a lot about John Carpenter well before watching it. I learned a lot about John Carpenter in the early 90s, how he's a huge fan of John Ford. And, he scores his own movies and stuff, and how many movies he had done up until that point. I'd watched a lot of them. And I always got the sense, and I've told Butch this, that John Carpenter, as much as he is as a horror director, he's a Western director. He's a modern day Western director. And I do think either consciously or subconsciously, this is as close to a Western as he got. This movie here, John Carpenter's Vampires. James Wood's character is sort of a modern day cowboy. But here's the thing, so are the characters around him. They're sort of like they're a posse in every way.
Oh, yeah.
And they're hunting vampires. It's a cool concept as hell.
In the commentary for it, he refers to this as the Wild Bunch meets Count Dracula.
Yeah. And he does a really good job. Again, I'm a sucker for desert porn, and I love how they use it here because they don't use it a bunch. This isn't John Ford's The Searchers where you're seeing nothing but naked desert, thank God. Here you see some naked desert and they tease the hell out of you for it, which I can appreciate. I also appreciate how they did the main vampire, how Thomas Ian Griffith stole this movie from James Woods. Love James Woods in this movie, but Thomas Ian Griffith stole the hell out of this movie as the heel. And the only way you have a good protagonist is if you have a better antagonist. And he is one of the best antagonistic vampires I've seen in a long time, especially in this movie here. He's terrifying. He's very intimidating, but he's also so smooth at being the villain, you can appreciate him for it. You can also hate his character at the same time. And I love that about this movie. James Woods, I do wonder why. I don't know why John Carpenter chose James Woods. I don't know why he didn't choose Kurt Russell at the time.
Yeah,
because they've teamed together many times.
Yeah, I was thinking that myself, Joe. But as Patrick suggests, it's probably money. Because I think Kurt Russell against Thomas Ian Griffith, that would have been a match made in heaven. You know what I mean? Because you would have had strong performance. With James Woods, you kind of get the sense again, like he's always kind of played these kind of skeevy, kind of hyper characters, and he's a mismatch in this film. It's like I really wanted the vampire to win, Thomas Ian Griffith to win this movie. You know what I mean? I really wanted him to win.
According to IMDb, Kurt Russell was busy filming something else, and Carpenter wanted Bruce Campbell to play Montoya, Baldwin's role. So imagine, if you will, Kurt Russell teamed up with Bruce Campbell versus Thomas Ian Griffith.
Now that would have been a movie. That would have been at least a return to form, but not. This, it's not bad, but it's like at best it's like a mid-budget HBO made-for-TV horror film. When you look at it, just the quality.
Yeah, I think too with this movie, I agree with you. Griffith in this movie does such a great job. Like you are sort of rooting for his character at times. I'll tell you where another character that made me sort of root against his character is actually the hooker who gets turned. Like she's actually an interesting sort of damsel in a weird way. It's like you feel sorry enough for her because Daniel Baldwin's character is sort of like antagonizing her to a degree. And it's like later on, like when she bites him.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sorry, spoiler. When she bites him on the arm as they're like he's pulling her out from the ledge of the window, it's like she bites him right on the arm. And it's like, oh, this is not gonna end good because he just got bit now, and he's gonna end up being a vampire. And so you knew that was coming. But I do like one of my favorite scenes in this movie is after the whole hotel scene where they destroy James Woods' character goes back and stakes them all and stuff. I love how Thomas Ian Griffith's character has a whole set of master vampires with him. I love how they did that. It looked like the evil version of the Magnificent Seven. And it looked cool as hell.
Yeah, when they rose out of the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carpenter says in the commentary that it took them, I don't know how many hours to get that done. But yeah, it's a great scene.
Yeah, it's really cool. what did you guys think of the priest in the movies? The priest who turns heel and the replacement priest in this movie.
Go ahead, Gordon.
Well, I was surprised that Maximilian Schell was in this movie as Alba, the priest that turns bad, because he's a high level actor. You know, he's not. I mean, he's not what you'd. I mean, he must have been really hurting for money just to do this film. But I thought he was good. I think the priest, though, it's kind of a. I guess the best way I could describe it is that they just kind of seem like there. Like, I understand that the lore of the movie is it's all about priests, but it just feels like the one thing I wondered is, with the posse using guns, why didn't they have the priest just like bless the bullets?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Rather than shoot them. And I know why they did it. You shoot them to slow them down, then you use the crossbow and you drag them out in the sunlight. But like holy water is just water that a priest says some prayers over. Have them like bless shotguns and bullets, and there you go. Like that's what I thought they were there for. It didn't really. They weren't bad. They were just kind of like there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Butch.
I agree. They're token. They're perfunctory. The original priest that's with the team that gets killed. He's he's there, and the cardinal that turns evil. For Maximilian Schell to do this, it's just like, I don't know. To me, it's like hiring Jack Nicholson to walk in front of the camera and say something and walk off, and you're like, wait a minute, we hired him. We hired one of the best actors to do nothing. I will say the replacement priest at the end, when after James Woods is an ass in this film, and when he first teams up with the new priest, he like basically throws him out of the van and kicks his ass for a bit, and then he's like starts asking him, did you get wood? Was it mahogany? And then at the end, after everything has happened, and they're going back in, and the priest admits, yeah, I had wood. It was mahogany. And he's like, what? And that part is in my opinion, one of the good touches. It's very Wild Bunch. I mean, these guys have bonded over this and now speak the same language. But yeah, I totally agree with Gordon. It's just that they're MacGuffins. They're not really characters. Hopefully I'm not, stepping on your feet too much there, Joel. But
no, I do think that the priest we first meet, it's like him getting killed was sort of the best thing that happened to the movie because the replacement priest actually has some purpose in this, because what does James Woods' character know? Oh, we were betrayed. It's like they even say it's like they knew it's not like they knew we were coming. But then when the master appears at night, it's like, wait, they had to know we were coming. How did he know to hide? Not in the house. And he showed up where they were. He knew Jack Crow's name. And he even says that. He goes, how did he know my name? He confronts the elder priest and the replacement priest who goes with him. James Woods' character is very much a cowboy. He does not obey orders. He does not go get a new team. He goes off by himself, not necessarily by himself, but with the new priest, and he's starting to kick the shit out of him to try to get information. And finally, when the priest spills the information, you understand why he's doing it, but the best part with that priest later on is the betrayal of the older priest. When he realizes what's happening, he just goes, oh shit. And when he loads the shotgun, and he shoots him, I thought, yes, finally I thought he should have did it sooner, but I like when he does it in the movie. It's really cool. And he points the gun to himself. You can't do your little ceremony without a priest, now can you? And I think that's one of the best ways to ramp up a character. Here's a character who's been kicked around, smacked around, and is finally realizing, okay, I gotta take a stand because the guy I admired just betrayed one of the guys I just admired betrayed the shit out of us. Literally, he literally betrayed us and sold us down a river, and all had become immortal because he's afraid of death. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to find out. He doesn't want to die and find out if there is a God or a heaven or a hell. He just wants immortality. And I understand. I like that reasoning. I get it. It makes sense.
It's very underdeveloped, though.
Yeah, I agree with you. They should have spent a lot more time getting into, because they do the lore with the main vampire is spread out pretty quickly in this movie. By the time it's like all at once at times, and when they do that, it's like, okay, now you're playing catch up with this character who was a priest, who they performed some sort of half-ass exorcism or whatever.
Ketchup.
Okay.
You said ketchup.
Oh, no.
I was giving you the ketchup.
But when they,
I'm going to interrupt you there for a minute. The botched, I don't know, I guess you should call it maybe not exorcism, intercism.
yeah,
That is one of the stupidest points I've ever heard, because it's like, he's back in the 14th century, if I remember correctly. I would have thought they would have just killed him, rather than doing some convoluted. I mean, I get it; they want to punish him, but that and to kind of go back to Gordon's point about the priest doing more for the team. The minute they show up at I get the whole point of the first scene at the house, show you what they do, how they do it, blah blah blah, and I'm just sitting there thinking, why don't you just burn down the house?
Yeah.
Just pour plenty of gasoline. Make sure you put it over the doors and the windows, and Molotov cocktails on the roof, and just wait for it to burn.
Yeah.
And then when one of them comes flying out, then you hit him with the crossbow. But I don't want to hammer this point because it derails the whole thing. But it's just like, why are we doing this the hard way?
Yeah, this is a script that could have used another pass in the typewriter.
Yeah.
Because it does seem like a lot of the exposition it's usually called the as you know scene, like as at one point the priest even says, I know your parents were vampire hunters, they were killed by a vampire, blah, 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 blah. It's not even the action sequence in a movie like this. Even if the plot is weak, you want the action sequences to make up for it. And at best, you want them to kind of act together. And I don't think they do well in this. I don't think the action sequences, I mean, they're okay, but they're not great. They kind of.
To me, they're like I think we've all said, there's kind of a big disconnect here. Don't get me wrong, this is not a horrible film. I have seen much, 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 much worse. It's not like this will go back in my DVD case over here. I don't know when I'll watch it again, but I know I have it and I know I can watch it. While we're pointing out the flaws, I don't want to sound like we're just downing it. I mean, John Carpenter is probably my second favorite director of all time, behind George Romero. And John Carpenter, man, he had a history of just knocking them out of the park left and right. Escape from New York, Halloween, The Thing, They Live. I mean, Prince of Darkness. There's a 10-year, 15-year period. I don't think the man made a bad film, and there's not many directors you can say that about. So I want to say that and get that out. Don't feel like we're all just knocking on it.
Yeah, I think this is a film that suffers more probably from the circumstances of losing funding, and maybe certain choices were placed on him rather than choices he made. Like, I'm sure if they lost the budget and Kurt Russell is elsewhere, okay, who can we get for this salary? Oh, great, James Woods. I don't think it was like, hey, I think James Woods would be great because you can, because I do think that I do think there's some really great ideas in it, but it really feels like, okay, they could have used a little bit more in terms of time, in terms of of like scripting, that it would have gone just from just it's a good Sunday afternoon movie to a pretty halfway decent action horror film.
I think if you make this movie in the early 90s and you cast Brandon Lee in the role of what James Woods played, it'd be different too. And a lot more, you could have did a lot more. Again, they do physical stunts. I'm not taking anything away from James Woods, but you could also had a much more interesting actor and a much more accomplished actor, in my opinion, play the character. James Woods, I do agree with you. He's I've seen him in Casino. And it's like he always plays these sleazeball characters. It's like,
yeah, I think the only time.
Different.
Yeah, I think the only time James Woods has never played the sleazeball has been in the movie My Name is Bill W., which is about the forming of AA. And I think it's on YouTube if you can find it.
Okay.
But that's like the only time he's never played like a sleazeball.
Hey,
Sorry, the milkman was here.
Patrick, what did you think of the casting of James Woods in this movie?
It's catastrophic. He is just because he's famous doesn't mean he is a comfortable looking hero. You know, there are people that you want to look at for long periods of time in a movie, and there are people you don't. And James Woods is someone you just don't. No one ever said, I was having a crummy day, but I watched that James Woods movie and now I feel great. There's a story about Bob Fosse directing Star 80 and trying to cast the role of Hugh Hefner, a character that he eventually cast with Cliff Robertson, an infinitely likable actor. And the first person he chose, who his first choice for the part was? Harry Dean Stanton.
Oh, wow.
And Hefner put the kibosh on it because he said, I'm sorry, he's just too sleazy, which may have been the point. But James Woods falls into that category.
Yeah. Okay, it's 1998. You could cast the lead for this movie. Who are you casting? Butch?
Kurt Russell.
Yeah. Gordon?
Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell. Bruce Campbell. And Joel, pick your toes up because I'm going to step on your feet here. Not intentionally, but I'm going to say it. I remember walking out of this film and saying to the two guys I was with, man, just imagine if Sir Christopher Lee had played that vampire.
Yeah.
Of course.
Holy crap. That would have been, I probably would have broke the budget, especially when it got slashed down to $20 million. I'm sure John could have probably talked Kurt into taking less money. Come on, man, just work with me here. I'll take care of you next time when I can. But for me, it would be Kurt Russell, Bruce Campbell, and Sir Christopher Lee.
Patrick, who are you casting as the lead?
You want me to be honest?
Sure.
Franco Nero's in this thing, right? He's the cardinal or the bishop.
No, that's Maximilian Schell.
Yeah,
that's Maximilian Schell. Well, he's doing a great impression. I would have just swapped Maximilian Schell and James Woods. Seriously, if I just had to operate from this budget,
Okay.
Maximilian Schell's a hell of an actor, a much more interesting actor. What the hell? I mean, if I can do whatever I want, that's what I want.
You can't. Joel mentioned Brandon Lee, and while I think that's a good, not a bad choice, at the time Brandon was in his mid-20s, early 30s. I think you need somebody a little bit older than that. And I love some Brandon Lee. But you got to have. It's somebody that has to have that weariness look to them, like, I effing hate this. But they're so good at it, they keep doing it.
Yeah, Thomas Jane.
Yeah,
Bruce Greenwood.
Oh, wow, yeah. There you go. Yeah, there are so many. Andrew Robinson. I mean, there are so many interesting actors. Let's just talk interesting actors. There's so many interesting actors in Hollywood. Jeffrey Combs. So many interesting actors in Hollywood that you know, and not all of them to be the star in an action movie have to be traditionally some sort of action-esque star. I mean, you know, could this person kick someone? Well, yeah. You know, we're not casting Stephen Hawking. Could this person? Oh, he's good in Next Generation. Could this person, you know, pull a trigger? Yeah. Okay. Well, let's open up. You know, who would be a compelling person to watch for 2 hours? And there's some of them.
You know, in
You're
98.
not casting a Schwarzenegger role where you've got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't Predator. So this is an 87.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, you know, Predator 2 starred Danny Glover, and I love that movie.
I do too. For 98, I would have cast Gabriel Byrne. I think he'd
Great choice. That's a marvelous choice.
I think he'd have been. I really loved him in The Usual Suspects. I really loved him in End of Days as the devil. I thought he did a great job, and I think he would have did a hell of a job in this. I would have kept Thomas Ian Griffith simply because he did a great job. I really loved his performance. Like I said, I think he stole the movie a bit. For the sidekick. For Gabriel Byrne's sidekick in this movie, no, I'm not going to cast Daniel Baldwin for God's sakes. But I'm trying to think of the actor's name. See, that's the thing. The actor I'm thinking of is a pretty big name himself, and he's coming off a comedy a bit. But I might have rolled the dice with Joe Pesci. He could be a badass.
Oh, Joe Pesci would have been a delight. What a great, yeah.
He could be funny and a badass at the same time. I just don't know if it would have worked in this movie.
Yeah.
What about you, Gordon?
You know, I would say Keith David would have been interesting.
Yeah.
It would have been
Let's
great.
see. I'm trying to think of other kind of not like actiony, but not like bulky. You know, if you had the budget, maybe Bruce Willis. You just have to tone down the snarkiness a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe Peter Weller.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that. Okay, you guys said Christopher Lee. Is that who you would pick as your vampire for this?
Yes. For me, anyway.
I keep Thomas Ian Griffith because you want to have, instead of, you don't throw, he's the strong part of the movie. You don't want to throw him away. You want to give other people a chance to let him kind of rise up. I mean, the truth is, you know, if, you know, he's going up against James Woods, who, as we all know, was paid in cocaine. So, like, it's, I don't want to take away from his performance. I just think if you have a stronger protagonist, his performance would have been that much stronger. You know what I mean? I think it would have been a much more evil pairing.
Yeah, I think
Jim Varney.
Jim Varney, that would work.
Yeah. Sure.
Gene Rayburn.
I'm serious though about Jim Varney. Jim Varney was in. There was an action movie. He played an arms dealer or something, a really sleazy one, and he was good. You know, I mean, Jim Varney had a great face, and he had a wonderful, deep, growly voice, and he was legitimately a good actor. And you know, I won't say he got trapped by the earnest part because he was happy to be doing that. But Varney had this great grizzled quality. I mean, he would have made a wonderful Joe Lansdale character any day.
What's you guys' favorite scene in this movie, Butch?
Probably. There's two. There's one I like. It is an info dump. It's not my favorite scene, but I really like it because we were coming off of Interview of the Vampire and related type films, where James Woods is in the van and he's like, they're not romantic, and a lot of things I'm not going to quote here, but he very quickly tells you, garlic doesn't work, crosses don't work, and he sets the rules for this genre that we're playing in. But you kind of mentioned it. Probably my favorite scene is when Vatic is him and the other master vampires are buried under the sand, and the cloud becomes overcast, and they all just kind of rise, and it's almost a zombie scene. Zombies popping out of the grave, but of course they're much more athletic, if you will. And it's just a great scene. In the commentary, Carpenter talks about the director of photography, whose name is escaping me, and the filters he used, like for the first scene there at the house, and then also in that scene, and it just fits. I mean, if that scene doesn't, either get you excited or maybe send a little shiver down your spine, okay, this movie is totally not for you.
Yeah.
Gordon, what's your favorite scene, man?
I really enjoyed some of the landscapes that were shot at the beginning, very early in the beginning, because it reminded me of two things. One is that I know that John Carpenter is a huge fan of Howard Hawks, and Howard Hawks not only was he stylistically diverse, but he knew how to compose a shot. The other, and this is going to be a little bit of a deep cut, is it's a 1970 or 71 movie called Vanishing Point, where it's about a guy driving across country, and it's basically like these landscapes and the occasional shot of a car driving through. And that's a movie it's not about, like, if you could fast forward through it and get the plot in like 30 minutes, but it's Carpenter just saying, okay, I'm doing a Western. Let's just enjoy these Western style landscapes for all they're worth.
Yeah. Patrick, what's your favorite scene, man?
I'm with Butch on this.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes too, the vampires coming up out of the ground. But I really love how Carpenter just shoots this movie as a whole. Even though with his budget cut, he still makes it look like a beautiful film.
He does.
And a terrifying film at the same time. He still builds the horror. Even though his budget was cut, he still makes it look terrifying and yet beautiful at the same time. And I love him for it. Great cinematography in this.
For Patrick, the Jim Varney movie was The Expert.
Okay, yeah.
He plays a character named Snake.
Mm-hmm.
Just to tie it back to Carpenter. Anyway, I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
No. Did you guys see where Ernest's Halloween movie where he took on that troll or whatever it was?
I think I had lost track of the Ernest
franchise.
Yeah, the Ernest franchise at that point. How was it?
It was good. It's a good movie.
Is that the one where the giant robot clown comes out and demolishes the city?
No.
Which, honestly is something that Jim Cherry would have done. I mean, these are the people who made Dr. Otto Riddle of the Gloom Beam before they did, any of that other stuff. So, that's not that unlikely in some ways.
According to our friend Svengoolie, the killer clowns from outer space the masks and makeup were repurposed for said Jim Varney. I think, was it Scared Stupid? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, I think
so. Scared Stupid, yeah.
But the masks were reused for that film.
And I think Killer Clowns is on Svengoolie tomorrow night.
It is. It is.
Nice. Good movie.
Followed by The Crawling Eye.
But yeah, what do you guys give this movie? 1 out of 10?
7. I mean, it passes.
Yeah, I'll give it a 7. It's not bad. It's just kind of there.
I think the budget cut right before they started filming is incredibly obvious and hurts it. So there's still, as we said, there's some good things in it, some good ideas. Unfortunately, they just don't come together. So yeah, I mean, I'll give it a 7. Again, I've seen much, much, much worse.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Memoirs of an Invisible Man. There's no Chevy Chase. That's probably the one John Carpenter movie I would say nobody should see.
No, I have never seen that, and just through
Count your blessings.
I have tried, and it's not easy.
I'm going to have to admit something here. And if I fell in y'all's guys' eyes, I'll just have to admit it. I am not a fan of In the Mouth of Madness. I want to like it.
Okay, good.
I really do.
I'm in the same boat, Butch. I want to like it. I mean, shit, it has Heston in it, for God's sake.
You and me should love that film.
I know. I keep sitting down to it thinking it's going to be a better movie than it is.
And it never is.
And then it's just, it Star Trek the Motion Pictures me. Because that's a movie I sit down and think, this isn't bad. And it's not so bad, but it's not so good either.
Wrath of Khan 2 was really good.
Well, yeah, it had to be. It had to be.
What do you give it, Joel?
I'd probably give it a little higher score than you does. I give it a 7.5. I think I get that James Woods is a guy that he's an acquired taste. I do think he fits this movie, but like I said, Thomas Ian Griffith really steals this movie for me. I appreciate his performance very, very much. I watch this movie specifically for how he acts. He really, really, and I think Daniel Baldwin did a really good job too for his role. But Thomas Ian Griffith is definitely one of the better horror vampires I've seen in a long time. I really enjoy his character. I do wish they wouldn't have. I wish this movie is a movie that looked like it needed more than one thing, but it didn't get that. Well, it did, just not. Just then they got. I won't get into that, but
I agree with you there, Joel. One of the things I really love about this film, and I know I've not said a lot of things I love about it. We finally got the return of vampires as evil creatures who, at least in my opinion, rightfully would see us regular human as cattle.
Yeah.
This isn't. I'm not a fan of the Interview with the Vampire films. I remember trying to read it, and I swear there was 3 pages where somebody was falling down some steps, and I swear it went on for 3 pages. And it was nice to see vampires return as the bad guys, and even then you're still, and you've not said this, so I don't put words in your mouth, but I kind of feel like you're kind of in the near dark kind of thought. They may be bad guys and they may do horrible things, but let's be honest, they're also kind of cool.
Yeah,
I'm not saying we want to go around slashing priests, throats or whatnot, but
I would. But I'm Catholic, so I get to say that.
But these are vampires. These are not Heathcliff and Wuthering Heights. Oh, woe is me, I'm hell for eternity.
I write books about a guy like that.
Yeah,
I wonder where I got the idea. I may have been reading something recently.
Darn good. Certain someone mentioned it.
Have any of you seen any of this? There's 2 sequels. Have any of you ever seen either of them?
No.
I
had
I've
important
never
things to
seen
watch
Interview
dry.
with the Vamp-
I'm sorry, what was that, Gordon?
I said I've never even seen Interview with the Vampire.
In your case, count your blessings. I've seen the first half of the first sequel, which is, I believe, Los Muertos. I didn't take Spanish in high school. It has John Bon Jovi taking over as the lead.
Yeah.
And that tells you everything you need to know about it right there.
Is he not a good actor? I mean, sometimes these rock and roll fellows are pretty good.
He'll do anything for $1.
Well,
some of them. Script isn't very good, and apparently he'll even admit that the movie did not turn out well. And according to a story I read on IMDb, I think it was one of his fans met up with him and said, "Hey, I want my money back for that movie," and he said, "I'd like to have the time back from my life from filming it." So you know, I don't think it's necessarily his fault. It seems like it's about a $1.99 sequel
Yeah.
trying to cash in on this.
A little, not about this movie, but a little fun fact about a movie that he soundtracked, Young Guns 1 and 2, Young Guns 2. Those movies were meant for television, but they went to film. They were both of them were made for TV movies, but they went to the theaters instead. So, was there anything you guys want to add about John Carpenter's Vampires before we go?
What more is left to be said?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a low impact episode, Jewel. I'm sorry.
We have lavished about as much attention and love on this movie as I think probably it needs. I think even John Carpenter would tell us to go watch a John Ford movie now or something. I'm just saying.
The only thing I have left to say is this is a Father's Day gift. This is Callie.
No.
That's Cooper.
No, very well.
That's Apache.
Very
That's
nice.
Bruno. And that's Snowy.
Nice.
Want to get all them in. Yeah, I don't think there's anything left to say about this film. It's not horrible, but it could have been so much better.
It's no Meet Wally Sparks.
It's no Meatballs at that. So.
Meatballs is a good movie. Rudy the Rabbit.
Butch, it is your turn to pick for next week, buddy. What are you picking?
I'm gonna. Have we done Assault on Precinct 13?
No.
Okay, we're gonna continue the westerns that aren't really a western, that are kind of our western, and in this case, also directed by John Carpenter, and literally one of my favorite films, Assault on Precinct 13, the original, the only version that counts, the only version that really exists, I believe, from 1978.
That is in my top 5 John Carpenter.
And here's the thing, Joel. We could shut this one down, and you could launch it back up, and we could start talking about it now. I guarantee you, I'll wait till my wife gets off work. I get home and have about an hour after I get off work before she gets off work, and that's usually when I start watching, especially Western. She's not a big Western fan. But if I waited till she got off work and she heard the beginning music from Assault on Precinct 13, she'd be like, "Are you watching that again?"
Yeah, it's
so
really
now
good.
thank you.
It's really, really good. I mean, are we out? Do y'all want to discuss it now? We can stop this and record it. Are we good? Or
I think I've seen it. In fact, I think Butch showed it to me. But it was so long ago that my memory of it is not. So you guys can do it.
I've seen it years ago, so I don't have a fresh memory.
Okay. All right.
You guys do it.
All right. Well, let us wrap this up, and I'll end this call, and I'll call Butch back.
All right.
So links to Gordon Dymowski's Amazon page, links to the Dark Shadows Daybook Unbound is going to be in the description box for this video. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Obviously, Butch, Gordon, Patrick. Thank you guys for doing John Carpenter's Vampires with me. Guys, have a good night. I'll see you here in a bit, Butch.
Okay.
Bye.
See you guys.